mayors, authorities, distinguished guests. Bon dia to all of you. We are Filippo Gavazzeni, head of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, and Bruno Santos de Oliveira, head of the International Relations of the Rio City Hall. It's our great pleasure to open this 8th Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Global Forum, hosted by the beautiful city of Rio de Janeiro. Together with us, there are 600 people, both in person and online, representing our signatory cities, our global and regional partners. We are particularly excited that this forum is taking place for the first time in South America. I remember 1 year ago in Barcelona, when together with you, Bruno, we announced that the hosting city for 2022 would have been a Cidade Carioca.
Thank you, Filippo. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rio. We are very happy to be delivering this global forum together with the city of Milan and with FIOCRUZ. It's very thrilling and awesome times for us, and the city has worked very hard, particularly the team of international relations, to organize this event, bringing our contribution to the Milan Pact community, and also enriching the debate of the global food agenda. The next 3 days will be an amazing opportunity for cities and all of us to exchange with an intense and fruitful time for our cities to promote and develop conversations regarding the advance of food policy regionally and around the world. This ceremony today will be guided by the amazing Master of Ceremonies, Miss Teresa Borges. Teresa is a senior executive with a wide-ranging and very important network of international and national contacts. She has lived both in the US and in the UK, and is currently working very hard to foster multidisciplinary conversations to advance sustainable growth in climate, in justice and human rights, and also in gender studies. Food systems is one of the key areas of work she's focusing right now at present time. And that being said, I would like to welcome Teresa Borges on the stage and ask a big round of applause to her. Thank you.
He made me look really good with those words. Thank you, Filippo and Bruno, for the initial words. Warm welcome and kind invitation to be here. It's definitely an honor to be part of this outstanding event, this huge and diverse and amazing crowd. So today, as Filippo said, we start the 8th Global Forum of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. This edition's theme is Food to Feed the Climate Justice, Urban Food Solutions for a Fairer World. A little bit of housekeeping before we officially start. I think all of you have grabbed your headsets for translations. In case you have not, they're at the front of our plenary. One thing, and I'm telling this mostly to myself as a Carioca, that punctuality is adamant. I'll be punctual, and I hope you are as well, because this event is being live streamed all over the world, so our audiences are expecting punctuality from ourselves, from us. The sessions will be recorded and later available at the Milan Pact YouTube channel. So, launched 7 years ago, the Milan Pact has reached over 250 cities and impacts thousands of people, promoting sustainable and healthier food policies all over the world. During the next 3 days, We will listen to mayors, city representatives, experts, activists on how to advance policies, share experiences, and discuss challenges that can impact our food systems. Specifically today, we will celebrate outstanding initiatives promoted by cities all over the world. We will recognize the best and the boldest work of cities around the world that are transforming global, thank you, that are transforming global systems in the awards ceremony. After the award ceremony, dinner will be served at the foyer. We would like to highlight that all meals served here are vegetarian with vegan options and non-processed ingredients harvested from local suppliers. Before we officially welcome our distinguished guests, I would like to thank the Instituto Europeu de Design, the European Design Institute. Their students created the logo for our event, and so the Instituto did a call for projects, and this collaboration allowed several students to produce a logo that would symbolize our theme today. And the winning concept was, as you can see here in the bottom, on the bottom part of our screen, it's supposed to represent slices of fruit as well as the phases of the moon. So it's a nice concept, and congratulations to the winning team. Now, without further ado, I would like to call on the stage Mayor Eduardo Paes from Rio de Janeiro. Vice Mayor Ana Scavuzzo from City of Milan. The Director of Instituto Fome Zero, Professor Graziano. And Mr. Valber Frutoso from FIOCRUZ. Thank you everyone for being here. Please have a seat. I'm going to start, I'm going to start calling Vice Mayor of Milan, Ms. Ana Scavuzzo, to share her opening remarks. So sorry to have made you say, come on.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here together with you. And I would like to ask you an applause just for you, first of all. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor, but it's also quite exciting because we are back in presence. And I think it's very important also for our network. And I want to revoice my wish to you, delegates, and on behalf of the city of Milan, that is the chair of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, I'm honored to welcome you to the 8th Global Forum in the beautiful city of Rio de Janeiro. Let me express my deepest gratitude to Mayor Eduardo da Costa Paes, and I will leave him the floor for welcome us today to this forum and to this city. Our two cities, Milan and Rio de Janeiro, are linked by ties of friendship, and we are here, above all, thanks to the long-term vision of Rio to invest in the most innovative community of cities active on urban food policies. The Milan Pact was launched 7 years ago to be the platform for cities actively transforming their food systems. It's impressive to think about the wonderful journey that led us here. I believe that we should all be proud of how far we have come as a community of cities, a community of people. And I'm also very glad of how much I personally learned. professionally, but first of all, personally. Back in 2015, we all started this journey together. We started this journey because we want to build more sustainable and just food systems. As politicians, we feel the huge responsibility in triggering this vision. As city governments, with our previous officers, also among you, we put this vision into concrete actions for our communities. In fact, cities are actively developing food policies that are crucial drivers of change, affecting millions of citizens worldwide. We must act now as a community, both at global and the local level. The pact regionalization progress is going ahead with exciting results. This year, Europe hosted the regional forum in Almere in the framework of Florida 2022. Asia Pacific celebrated its first regional forum in Bandung, linking it with Indonesia's G20 presidency. And last month, a delegation of Milan Urban Policy Pact cities were in Terra Madre, in Turin, at the Slow Food International event. This is the vibrant and innovative community that we created. It seems surprising that for a long time, food has been considered as something like a rural matter, a topic falling outside of cities' interest and urban competence. But we know that cities are where the majority of the world's population live and eat, and we know that Milan Pact mayors have a clear understanding that food is intertwined with major phenomena in our society, such as climate change, deforestation, loss of biodiversity, but also social justice, employment, and raising inequalities. Food is deeply connected to climate justice, and as such, it's our entry point to tackle today's biggest challenges together. The mission of the Milan Pact and the focus of this forum is to shed light on what role food can play in mitigating the climate crisis and in promoting social inclusion, on what role food can play in the equitable division and fair sharing of the consequences of climate change. In other words, cities can, maybe should, maybe must, feed the climate justice. This is what we want. This is what we will achieve if we work all together. Our commitment is to enhance learning from each other. Any city working on these issues can provide precious insights on how to tackle common challenges. Every city, every community. Over the last 7 years, cities learned a lot, mostly when we were facing an unprecedented crisis. And the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact has always been at the forefront to support these efforts. The fair and sustainable world we want to build needs our full commitments. Mayor Paes, thank you for being an exceptional host and for having organized the 8th Global Forum of the Milan Pact. Let me also deeply thank all our partners that are contributing to such an inspiring program. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of you. Without you, we could not have grown and gone so far. It's a collective journey, and we are happy to do it together. I wish you a fruitful forum. Thank you very much for being here, and I invite you all to enjoy the most of these days, once again in presence, together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Valber Frutoso from FIOCRUZ to share his remarks.
Obrigado. Bom dia.
Good morning, Mayor Eduardo Paes, Vice Mayor Ana Scavuzzo. I'm the director of the Zero and the director of the Fome Zero Institute, José Graziano, on behalf of President Nisi Trindade Lima and the entire FIOCRUZ community, I wish to congratulate the initiative of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact and the city of Rio de Janeiro, with our mayor here present on the stage, for holding this 8th Global Forum in our city. And I wish to thank you for the opportunity, for the partnership that we've had with FIOCRUZ, an institution focused on science and technology here in Brazil, which has collaborated with the organization of this event. The Milan Pact, as an initiative aimed at debating public policy on generation of sustainability and social justice, was established as a concrete and effective tool for working where promotion of food sovereignty and food security and nutritional security is one of the main pillars in the contemporary world as a promoter of social justice and sustainability. The main international agencies in the United Nations system, like FAO and the World Food Program, have identified the need to restore the food ecosystems based on the importance of humankind, reflecting on the ethics of adopted to define economic prosperity. For these same agencies, there's still a hope that we can transform the contemporary food systems in order to promote solutions to the climate, economic problems, and social injustice, which reveals the importance of holding this 8th forum in our city here in Rio de Janeiro at this moment of deep reflections. We believe that it's still possible to regenerate these food systems, but this requires time, resources, knowledge, new proposals. For that to happen, good governance with the Declaration for Humankind to make measures to promote agro-food systems, resilient ones that are efficient in a sustainable way and inclusive as well. For this, we require global measures for food production, both for international trade and for domestic trade. These are investments in the diversification of what we know as what we can act on, given the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of climate adversities and possible catastrophes, and also in instabilities due to political, ethnic, and other forms of conflict. The 8th Global Forum of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, which is now being held in our city, emphasizes and highlights even more the themes of sustainable development, putting food systems at the center of the discussion, the agenda for discussion. The world is being left behind in attempts to eliminate hunger and food insecurity, and several different initiatives aimed at achieving food systems that can indeed, with effectiveness, be sustainable, thereby protecting above all biodiversity and the environment. Despite all of these efforts, which are ongoing, these changes still require a number of measures and actions to understand food systems. Sustainable ones should be through the joint promotion of policies for the environment, health policies, transportation and commuting and mobility policies, and also energy policies. Given the diversity of each territory, these efforts will require that institutions be strong, both at the local level, at the national level, and at the global level, in order for the cities and their citizens to be able to promote systemic changes in the urban food system. For that to happen, it's essential to have the development of integrative development to transform the global food system. Thus, the importance of implementing governance systems based on interconnection of all the agro food systems for early warnings, assessment and management of environmental risks, endemics and pandemics. These are all essential strategies. Given this context, on the theme Food to Feed Climate Sustainability. The 8th Forum of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact raises the possibility of exploring how food systems can become one of the most powerful levers to achieve a more just world, creating space for the delegates, representatives, and leaders of the signatory cities present here based on discussions carried out over the course of these 3 days to be able to transform the challenges that have been raised for us and turn them into solutions for a more prosperous, just, egalitarian, focused on healthy life in the future without jeopardizing integrity and the stability of the ecosystems and biodiversity. On behalf of FIOCRUZ and our entire community and the President, Nizia Lima, I want to thank you and I wish you all a wonderful and fruitful forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frutoso, for representing FIOCRUZ, which is a national pride for us here in Brazil. Now I'd like to invite Professor Graziano to join me on the stage.
Caro prefeito.
Dear Mayor Eduardo Paes, first of all, I would like to thank you all and thank you for being here in this important meeting of the Milan Pact. Thanking you for the important work you have done at this important time lived by our country. Dear Vice Mayor Anna Scavuzzo from the city of Milan, dear representative of FIOCRUZ, Valber Frutoso, Rafael Zavala from FAO, I'd like to greet specifically Carlo Petrini, a dear friend, international president of Slow Food, present here with us. Dear mayors, dear friends, it is a great joy for me to be part of this forum. It is an honor for me to have been part of its birth back then in 2015 in Milan. And it's been a long journey since then. And the success is due to all the support received from Milan from the very start. Milan used the opportunity that World Expo 2015 was being held then, and the topic was feeding the planet, energy for life. And since then, this relationship between eating and the planet has been explored in different meetings of the Pact. The focus on the right to healthy food to save the planet is a constant topic and has influenced the topics of our journey. And the topic for our Global Forum this year is Food to Feed the Climate Justice, Urban Food Solutions for a Fairer World. And there are some important topics to be highlighted. Now, at this historic point in time, this unique time we're living, somehow we are taking the responsibility in face of the world. It's a shame now that we are one of the biggest exporters of food on the planet, and we have gone back to being in the map of hunger. I'm not going to point out to the negligence of the last 2 terms of government. We will have enough time in the next few days to detail the topic. What I want to highlight now is merely a point. In the case of Brazil, this is a clear example that technologies of green revolution that have been here for almost 70 years in the planet, although they have increased the supply of food, making food cheaper, they have not been able to produce healthy food, nor have they been able to avoid a series of environmental and social problems, such as deforestation, the loss of biodiversity, the soil degradation, water pollution, lack of family farmers, land concentration, and soil contamination due to the intensive use of chemicals. Brazil is a clear example, such as the presence of monoculture and the lack of diversification of production can lead to the food monotony, as we call it, which contributes deeply to increasing the epidemic of obesity that the world has been going through, particularly Brazil. My dear friends, climate change is no longer seen as a future threat. It is something that is already causing significant impact in our production. It is more and more apparent that global warming, unless it's stopped rapidly, we will have even less food in the future. And it's not just reduction in quantity of food, as many believe, due to the occurrence of droughts and extreme climate events. The last report, the last PC report, points to a crucial point, which is the loss of nutritional quality of food produced in an atmosphere with too much CO2. The protein concentration in our main food, wheat, corn, rice, may drop from 5 to 15%. And the vitamin concentration, specifically vitamin B, may drop up to 30%, unless if the concentration of CO2 doubles as compared to the pre-industrial revolution levels in the 17th century. Based on the IPCC's analysis, we may say that food insecurity will grow to the point that it will become a threat similar to that before agriculture, the pre-agriculture era in the country, in the world, rather. And the wealthy and not so wealthy countries, like Brazil, on the other hand, have been supporting a form of industrial agriculture that has reached $630 billion a year, almost $2 billion a day. FAO, in its last report of SOFI 22, proposes that these resources, at least part of it, will be used no longer to stimulate industrial-based production, but rather the consumption of food in a sustainable way, of food that is produced in a sustainable way. So clearly, we need to look for a new paradigm. And fortunately, there are good options. One of them is the recommended by FAO. It is agroecology. And I have the pleasure of telling you, foreign guests, that we have here in Brazil an association, the National Association of Agroecology. There's a website available, and it has already tested the agroecological models in 750 locations in Brazil, proving that they can obtain results superior to those of conventional agricultural methods. But it's not just the form of production that needs to be changed. The way in which we consume needs to be more responsible, avoiding waste, avoiding monoculture, the monotony of our food systems. And cities here play a fundamental role. 80% of the food in the world is consumed in cities. And we can no longer think of cities only as the urban nucleus, separate from the rural areas. The urban-rural dichotomy needs to be overcome by a continuous line of rural-urban. Cities need to incorporate more and more in their directive plans also the peri-urban, peripheral, and rural areas. I want to emphasize also that we can no longer consider the city population as mere passive consumers or the rural people as producers of commodities. More and more, these elements need to play an active role to transform our system. The pressure on the part of consumers might be effective in promoting healthy food systems. And for that to happen, we need to have active local governance mechanisms. And this is an endless path, as has been posed by the Milan, Vancouver, and Belo Horizonte city examples, just to mention a few. I want to stress also the importance of going from global topics to local issues, the importance of taking on global commitments in local realities to implement the 2030 agenda requires the political commitment not only on the part of nation leaders, but also on the part of our mayors. We need the total commitment of our local authorities. And to conclude, I would like to say that the implementation of this radical necessary reform in food systems is a great challenge, but it is something that can be attained. All long journeys start with the first steps, and we know what to do. Public policies that promote healthy diets to meet the needs of people's choices. We cannot go on blaming people. We cannot blame the mother for the obese child. The obesity is a public health issue. It is not a private issue. Families and individuals can no longer be deemed responsible for what and how they eat, because very often we don't even know what is in the food we eat. In that respect, what calls our attention is that there is still no regulation, comprehensive regulation, to promote healthy diets. Tax and regulatory policies that include tax on food and drinks that are unhealthy, labeling, restriction of marketing, and the commercialization of unhealthy foods is already enforced in some countries. And the result in reducing obesity has been significant. Brazil is still in the beginning in this direction. We need to go faster. We know what to do. We just need to be bold enough to start, knowing that it will be a long journey, knowing that sustainable development, the goal number 2, and here Fome Zero, zero hunger, means not only giving commodities to people so they can survive. We need to feed them adequately so they may lead healthy lives. I'd like to greet you all once again to the city of Rio de Janeiro and to Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Graziano, founder and director of Instituto Fome Zero. I think that your opening remarks summarized why we are here. And if one day we wake up and we're tired to go to work, I think we can refer to this remark and get strength to keep going, because the work that you're all doing and you are all doing is highly important. So I thank you for sharing data and for sharing your knowledge and for having Fome Zero as also a national pride. So, yes. Before I invite our dear mayor to give his remarks, I would like to welcome back Vice Mayor Ana Scavuzzo for a gift exchange with Mayor Eduardo Paes.
Dear Mayor, I'm very honored and I'm pleased you to accept this medal I would like to give to you on behalf of the city of Milan, also as a symbol of gratitude, a symbol of friendship between our cities, and the symbol of strengthened cooperation for what we have been doing till now, and also for what we can do also in the future. Thank you very much to you, to your city, and also to your vision about your city, but about the cities of the world. Thank you very much.
So let me say a few words here. Grazie mille. I don't speak very good Italian, but but let me also welcome you to Rio. It is a great honor. I think Milano inspired all of us. Rio had the opportunity to join Pacto de Milano in 2016 when I was in my second term as mayor. And we know being a city like Rio with the challenges of a country like Brazil, we know that the role we can play, it's a big one. So count on us. It's an honor to have you here, and please accept this in the name of the Cariocas, the city of Rio de Janeiro, and the Brazilians. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to invite our wonderful Mayor Eduardo Paes.
Bom dia a todos.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank all of you on behalf of the city of Rio de Janeiro and wish you all a warm welcome to the cities and agencies and organizations that are here with us in this 8th Forum here in the Cidade das Artes. Once again, I want to greet the Vice Deputy of Milan, representing the Mayor, José Bissalo, who I wish you would send our warm greetings to, and the leadership of Mayor Sala in the city of Milan. We were convening, thanks to them, here to promote, talking about the importance of urban food policy and the importance of city and the food systems. I'd also like to thank the cabinet of the Milan Pact that organized this event, as well as all the organizations, the partner organizations. I wish to cite here the advisor for international relations of FIOCRUZ, Valber, Frutoso, through whom I greet all the partners at FIOCRUZ, allowing us to hold this event. And special greetings and salutations, in my opinion, it's the person who inspired all of us Brazilians in the first term of the Lula government as the director, and at the time, the coordinator of Zero Hunger and former director of the FAO and the food security and the fight against hunger, as I said here, for the implementation of the Zero Hunger milestone for fighting hunger in Brazil. Here, we imagined that we had already overcome, but unfortunately, we're facing hunger again here in Brazil. So thank you very much to José Graziano for your role and your tireless action in this area. Rio de Janeiro is known internationally for its leadership in discussions, international discussions related to environmental agenda since Rio 92 and Rio Plus 20 in 2012, and celebrating now the 30 years since Rio 92. We're honoring our historical role in the climate agenda with policies to strengthen actions in the transitions to food systems, sustainable urban food systems, resilient and nutritional ones, nutritive ones. Rio's organizing this unprecedented event in the Americas with food policies at the center of the climate agenda. Today, as was said here, food systems represent 37% of global emissions of greenhouse gases, which what we eat and how we produce the food, how much we waste as well. It's essential for us to discuss in order for us to meet the targets for the Paris Agreement. We're living in a scenario of contradictions. On the one hand, as Graziano said here, obesity is a public health problem related to diet, and on the other hand, as hunger as well. To accelerate the transition to healthy and sustainable diets is one of the activities and actions that has the greatest impact to guarantee climate justice. Global production of food is one of the main sources of pressure on natural resources to feed and produce foods for 7.7 billion inhabitants in the world, which are responsible for 24% of annual greenhouse gas emissions. Healthy diets and sustainable ones, only countries in the G20 can reduce nearly 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions. Healthy activities have an impact on health. The decrease in ultra-processed foods, reducing related diseases related to poor nutrition and obesity. Policies aligned with the commitments of the Milan Pact in the area of food security, governance and reduction of food waste. Rio de Janeiro has confronted this scenario and tackled it. Our city has been holding activities that range all the way from production and access to nutritional diet with agroecological production, food school programs, and short food chains. To guarantee healthy and adequate nutrition for children, we've provided the use of various and varied diets respecting culture and promoting information of healthy eating habits. More than promoting the necessary calories for our population, it's essential to expand popular access to organic food products with little or no use of pesticides. The city government is dedicated to the premises of the Milan Pact in all of Latin America through the development of all and involvement of all sectors in the food system in the implementation of policies of urban food programs and policies related to diet. So in May, we hosted the first Latin American Forum of the Pact, which convened representatives from Latin American cities and international organizations. The regional forum was a milestone for the Latin American cities and promoted the commitments of the Milan Pact to address better the main concerns of the region and the common challenges. We launched a declaration of Rio de Janeiro, which created a Latin American alliance for the Milan Pact. This alliance established priorities to implement food security through urban public policies to contribute to sustainability and strengthening of identity and the reduction of inequality. Rio de Janeiro have the honor to be, once again, I highlight, the first city of the Americas to host the Global Forum of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. To organize this event showed the courage and daringness to confront climate emergencies, which will only be through sustainable food systems at the center of our decisions for urban planning. We wish to promote the local commitments concerning food and encourage cities that have not signed the pact yet to join activities on more inclusive food systems, resilient and safe and secure ones. The coming days, we're going to have the opportunity to debate amongst global leaders how to advance initiatives which promote more just cities and fair and sustainable cities. More than ever before, we need to advance in healthy food policies which are accessible for everyone and affordable. Only in 2021, more than 193 million people underwent some level of food insecurity, acute food insecurity. Food insecurity is one of the most harmful effects of the climate crisis, impacting more severely vulnerable populations. Ever since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also due to the economic situation, the number of people on the map of hunger increased by 150 million people in the entire world. The world reality is reflected in Brazil, with the country has fallen back onto the map of hunger in the year 2022. We should never forget that in the pandemic, in the worst recession in the contemporary history of Brazil, we have more than 33 million Brazilians who are going hungry, and we have more than 125 million living with some level of food insecurity in Brazil. This alarming situation demonstrates more than ever before that solutions to the problem of hunger and the food systems, that they should involve the global south. They must involve. More than half of the world's population is living in cities. Our mayors have the crucial role now in the transformation of the food systems. With the pact, we've created cities committed to the development and implementation of healthy food systems and sustainable food systems. The right to eat with dignity is an international human right. We have launched the program, the natural food for informal workers, for them to have access to food. And we've created several different neighborhood soup kitchens for vulnerable populations and affected by thousands of free meals for people in situations of extreme poverty. Ever since 2006, this mayor of Rio de Janeiro launched a project of karaoke vegetable gardens. More than 100 tons of healthy food is produced in more than 150 vegetable gardens all across the city. More than 10,000 vulnerable families now have access to vegetables and greens free of cost. In addition to selling the food for generating income, we're going to exchange experiences to overcome the challenges of promoting healthy and sustainable diets and egalitarian way, an equal way for everyone. Cities are leading the transitions to global food systems, resilient ones, nutritional ones, and with low carbon. But we still have much progress that we still need to make, and with the cities of the world, in these days, we're going to establish measures to promote food justice and sustainability. Here we are going to reinforce the path to a more inclusive food and climate transition, which is sustainable in cities, with public policies, robust ones and broad, comprehensive ones. The 8th Forum for Milan Urban Food Policy Pact is a milestone in turning this challenges into solutions for a more prosperous future. I wish each and every one of you an excellent forum, and I'm certain that we are going to achieve progress here with solutions, permanent ones, with a common agenda for the cities to build with an effective debate over the course of the next days of the forum. So thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you, Mayor Eduardo Paes, for your reliable leadership in our city. Right now, we're going to do a little bit of switching of the stage. I invite you to take a seat in our audience. If Mayor Paes can stay here with us. Thank you. And now I would like to invite the stage to participate in the mayor's debate, Mayor Shade Gawanaz of Windhoek. Mayor Roberto Ladiziankic, you have to help me. Ladiziansky from Tel Aviv. That was my fault. I caught your attention for a bit. Thank you. I would like to invite now Vice Mayor Audrey Pulvar from Paris. And we have the Mayor of New Haven joining us online, Mr. Justin Elliker. So I'm going to take a seat so we can start our debate. Hi. Is this on? Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being online. We're going to do 2 rounds of questions to our mayors here. I'll start with Madame Pulvar. So the city of Paris has implemented a program called Strategy for Sustainable Food, which aims to give everyone access to high quality food and to reduce the ecological footprint of food consumption in your city. What are the main challenges that this strategy wants to address? And is the topic of climate justice considered into the strategy?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Bom dia. Desculpe, não falo português, mas entendo pouco. Thank you, Teresa. Just a short hello to everybody. Merci beaucoup au Pacte de Milan. Thank you to the city of Rio. Thank you to the teams who are organizing this event, and thank you to our translators. So now I turn in French and I answer to your question. Oui, évidemment, cette stratégie de...
Well, this strategy for sustainable food and agricultural food for the city of Paris is a strategy that tries to reduce our environmental footprint, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And after aviation, we have an activity that is second in greenhouse gas emissions. And we in Paris also need to reduce the environmental footprint of food consumption in the city. We have been working in the implementation of a food system that is less of a predator of resources and that can provide a better return to producers, and that is also healthier in terms of public health. It is also an issue of social justice and access, especially for people who have lower income. They will have access to food of higher quality. Also, we need to follow the agricultural transition in our city. A city like Paris today and the region around Rio is like Rio here. Our resilience would be of 3 days only if supply was to be affected by some factor. In the context that we are today, we realize there is a major challenge in terms of location of production and following the transition to the periphery of the city. How do we do that? Well, we do that as a very ambitious food plan that establishes 100% of participation of organic and sustainable food in school canteens and administrative public canteens, and that represents 30 million meals in Paris a year. So in all collective food or collective canteens, we can establish and set up which are the producers that can be responsible for that, always supporting agroecology and organic farming. This type of sustainable food system predicts 100% of sustainable food until 2027. We have reached 54% now. Production is always less than 200 kilometers from the city of Paris, which allows us to follow up and monitor everything that is produced in and around 200 kilometers of Paris. So only 10% of agriculture is organic.
I'm moving on to Vice Mayor of Tel Aviv. If I may ask, what role can food play in mitigating climate change and promoting social inclusion? In other words, can cities promote climate justice?
Bom dia a todos, eu vou responder em português.
I'm going to answer in Portuguese. Cities are today the center of human activity. And several issues are growing, and the greenhouse gas emissions is growing. The population of Tel Aviv will increase by 2030 from 460,000 inhabitants to 560,000. Our cities need to feed too many people with their resources, but may play an active role in producing resources and minimizing their impact. The environmental footprint of Tel Aviv indicates that food constitutes 42% of the total footprint of the urban population. The consumption of food in Tel Aviv shows two opposed patterns. On one hand, there's a relatively high percentage of waste of food per capita. On the other hand, 25% of the urban population is vegan or vegetarian. Our new mitigation policy establishes three main actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the food sector: promoting Mediterranean diet, a diet that is based on more vegetables and grains, supporting healthy food, and also assuring access to sustainable and healthy food to all. In 2022, we launched the Tel Aviv Tech 2022 initiative, whereby the municipality supports the startup food techs by offering a variety of benefits, such as, for instance, Tel Aviv holds hackathon events several times a year to develop apps and solutions to problems faced by the city in a creative way, in an innovative way. And the municipality has attributed shared working spaces to new startup companies. And these spaces are available at a subsidized, affordable price that is enabling entrepreneurs, yet another interesting system launched by Tel Aviv. Also, there is the Open Data TLV, which access open access codes to municipality databases about environment, transportation, events, education, and much more. And it's also user-friendly.
Very impressive, everything that you've been doing, but most impressive is your Portuguese. So, now I'd like
Pode ser melhor, né?
I could try to do a little bit better.
Mayor Shade Gawanas of Windhoek, if I may ask, can urban and family agriculture represent an entry point for tackling food security and generating income at household level? What's your experience in Windhoek?
Good morning, everyone, especially to the Mayor of Rio. Thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us. And also, of course, all protocol observed. For us, yes, it is extremely very important that you have urban agriculture introduced to every household within the boundaries of Windhoek. Now, Windhoek is an urban area, and agriculture is mostly identified with our context in the rural settings. But now introducing urban agriculture into the city of Windhoek has been quite of a challenge, and has also been a concept that we are still learning and trying to appreciate for the benefits of having urban agriculture within the boundaries of the city. Yes, on household level it is important, because even with our Building Back Better program, supported by UNDP, we have approximately around 116 women that are involved in the program. Now that obviously translates to 116 women that are in urban agriculture, literally feeding a household of around maximum 7 to 10. So you can just see the benefits that are rolling over in terms of household level. It obviously also teaches us about resilience at household levels. And you would remember that during the COVID pandemic, we were then obviously instructed to remain at homes. And one of the biggest challenges that we had was that people were unable to access food. Shops were closed. Most of them were unemployed. They're just at home. So you had to now look at how were they able to feed themselves? And it was a big challenge later on. People obviously overrode the COVID protocols, and they just decided. So having urban agriculture at household level is important because it teaches resilience and there's food security on that level. We also feel that it not just in terms of food security, but what our training system does in terms of financial literacy, how to manage, how to deal with other training skills. So urban agriculture at household level really assists our households to be able to deal with pandemics such as COVID-19 as well, and all other social ills within our circumstances. We obviously, we also have at the farm Okokuna, which is our first farm, the city of Windhoek has allocated land just for urban agriculture and agricultural training for the most vulnerable within our society. So this farm basically trains women, children, and men to take care of themselves at household level, to produce food for themselves, and obviously other benefits of training in financial skills, managing of resources, storage of agricultural produce, and to be able to sell this produces as well, which means there's an extra income coming into the household level.
Perfect. Pardon my ignorance, but what is the population of Windhoek?
The population of Windhoek approximately at 2020 was 461,000.
All right.
Yes.
So you have a lot of people to train and
yes, to take care of.
Yes, thank you. Now moving on to our online guest, Mayor Justin Elliker from New Haven. Can you hear us well?
I can.
Okay, great. So food is a matter of social and economic equity. Can we consider food as an entry point for the inclusion of disinvested communities? And how can one support those communities, including people who identify as Black, Indigenous, LGBTQ+, and new residents in New Haven?
Thank you for the question. And it's so good to be with you. Unfortunately, I can't be there physically, but I can see you've made up for it by having my gigantic visage above your head. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. And I also wanted to just say how honored I am to be part of the Milan Pact, and that our city has that opportunity. Our Director of Food Policy, Latha Swami, has joined you in person and is such a good representative. So very grateful to the Secretariat and everyone for allowing us to participate. You know, of course, food is a key entry point for inclusion of disinvested communities. And I think this is something that many of us as nations have struggled with for a long time in the United States. I think we have seen very much firsthand that the only way to address this issue is to focus not only on outcomes, but on the process as well. New Haven in particular, a city of around 134,000 people, has a long history of urban agriculture. And it may not always be reflective of the diversity of our city. Thanks to a first ever federal grant that's focused on this area, we're developing New Haven's first urban agriculture master plan with the goal to change that. It's an actionable, equity-oriented blueprint, and it's created through an inclusive, community-rooted process. And that is co-led by both our Food Policy Division and a newly established Urban Agriculture Community Advisory Board. And I think that Community Advisory Board is central to the work that we're doing, because it gives people that have historically been underserved and all too often not heard, not only a seat at the table, but a leadership position to help guide the thinking and help us align with these values. It's a priority to work with our divested communities. In New Haven's context, we've defined these communities as those that experience injustice and have less access to resources and opportunities. We currently have 52 members on this community advisory board, and they're compensated for their time to ensure that we don't have an opportunity where there's someone that may not participate because they can't afford to participate because they have to be working. It's a very diverse board, a multilingual group that includes English, Spanish, and French speakers. And we have significant representation also from those that have experienced incarceration. And last but not least, we have an amazing age representation on this group, including one urban farming expert who is over 85 years old.
That's great. Thank you so much. Moving on to our mayor, Eduardo Paes. Considering the reality of South American's metropolises, how to face urgent issues such as the current famine crisis, and how has the City of Rio's strategy adapted to tackle this challenge?
Okay, so once again, welcome. I'll do it in English so I can make life easier to our mayor there in New Haven. I bet he doesn't have any translation, so let me just try to make a point here first. I mean, when we're speaking about, from a point of view from the global south, when we're speaking from point of view of a city in a country with so much inequality as Brazil, and this is pretty much the same all over Latin America, besides the fact that we need to address the chain of production of food and the environmental issues, we are getting back, and now I speak on behalf of a Brazilian mayor, we're getting back to something that I thought I'm in my third term as mayor, so I was mayor from 2009 to 2016, and I got back last year. But this famine was something that, was out of the agenda in Brazil a few years ago. In my first term, obviously, we still had poverty, but things were much, much better. So the economic crisis in Brazil, and that has a lot to do, obviously, with the COVID, as it happened all over the world, but it was going bad for a while now, much, much before than the COVID from 2020 had. So this is an issue that we have to address permanently. So we have some initiatives. One, it's more connected to this chain of production, which is the Hortas Cariocas. I spoke a little bit here on my first address. It's something that was much more looking towards environmental impact of the initiative. But now the city, we need to be focused on how can we get rid of the famine? How can we get food to the people so they can eat at least 2 meals, 3 meals a day? That's what we're working on now. So we have 2 big initiatives, which is the Prato Feito Carioca. It means ready dish, something like that. The translation is not a good one. And the Cozinhas Comunitárias, which is like local people that we hire, the city pays for the food, and it's been an amazing experience. We have a history in Brazil of what they call popular restaurants, which are big restaurants in centers, commercial centers of the cities in Brazil. But poverty has become inequality has become such a big issue again that we have to invest in this more, straight to the point in the favelas, in the poor communities of the country. So these are the main things we're doing in the city of Rio. But it is a discussion, and I think that probably happens all over the global south, I can say, in Latin America. We are getting back to talk about famine again, which is completely unacceptable.
Absolutely. So now back to Madame Pulvar. The COVID pandemic and the economic crisis continue to put pressure on cities' food aid structures and on local farmers. Thus, a public policy to fight food insecurity is a necessary step to undertake for cities. Is there a way to combine required and urgent food aid actions with sustainability?
Yes, absolutely. It's very important. C'est évidemment un objectif qu'il nous faut maintenir.
This is an objective that we must try to meet. We, from the city of Paris, decided that we were going to maintain the objectives and that we were truly going to implement the policy. having 100% bio-sustainable food, because this collective restoration has to do with daycare centers, some school canteens, and administrative restaurants, because the city of Paris employs more than 150,000 people. So this is an important footprint. We want to feed part of the Paris people, those who do not live in Paris but work in Paris. We want that to be as sustainable as possible. And it's not just a matter of challenging the issue. Through the taxes, 13 cents of an euro given to the families, a bit more to the poor people. And in doing so, we have the children from poor families to have at least a balanced diet with fruits and vegetables, fresh fruit and vegetable, with or without meat. Because, as I said, we have 2 or 3 vegetarian meals a day. And in those collective restaurants, I try to make sure that the diet is of good quality. Amongst the devices we have in place, we are providing more subsidies so as to help one of the main French NGOs, L'Armée du Salut. And in doing so, we have 7 tons of fruits and vegetables, biological fruit and vegetables, coming from producers that are close to the city of Paris. That provides resources to the producers and also allows this NGO to distribute food to other associations and institutions that are providing food aid, so they can distribute food that is of higher quality. In this sustainable food system, we are increasing the supply of food. But also, we have here an important issue, which is the strategy to try and suppress the use of plastic in the food chain so as to preserve the climate, the environment, and human health. Our strategy is also to fight food waste. In doing so, by doing all that at the same time, and with a lot of political will, and several people before me said that, I believe that depends on political will, right? We're talking about public politics, so we need to have a political leadership, a political goal and will, so that you can truly fight famine and starvation, so that we can fight hunger in Rio de Janeiro. That is a political will.
Which is essential. And as a Carioca, and I'm very self-referring today, I'm sorry, but I'm so happy that Mayor Paes is back. Political will to implement social programs, and it's such a relief, so thank you. But yes, political will, absolutely fundamental to keep it going. And so to our Portuguese speaker guest, vibrant cities like Tel Aviv are used to hosting large-scale events such as festival and community events, community gatherings. Those events have obvious environmental impact. As city managers, one must find solutions to lower the impacts of these events. Can you share a little bit of your experience in this field?
Claro. Eu quero compartilhar com vocês.
I want to share the last hackathon in Tel Aviv in February, and I'm proud of this project, which was born in my cabinet. Now, the marathon is the largest sports event of the city, international event in the city, for the country as well. 40,000 runners from several different countries of the world came to participate in the marathon, in Tel Aviv Marathon. The last marathon was the first green marathon that happened in Israel. But when all the information registration leaflets and everything that used to be printed are now moved from paper to digital. All the signage after the marathon, the signs were recycled after the event. During the race, the runners were served with water in cups made of recycled material. After they drank in the glasses, the cups were recycled again. It is stimulated participants to use public transportation or bicycles or other green forms of green transportation and increase the number of trains, buses for the arrival and return of the event. And we suggested to participants in the marathon to donate their sports uniforms that they used in the marathon to recycle. And I believe that the most important topic that happened in the last marathon was that we were able to reduce the use of plastic bottles, disposable of water by 75% as compared to the previous marathon in Tel Aviv. It was a huge success, and we need to do even more, but we're on the right path at least.
This is a fantastic example, and I hope we can implement this everywhere. Always watching Olympics and marathons, and it's always so gut-wrenching seeing the runners drinking and throwing their plastic cups away. So thank you for sharing your experience. Now to Madame Shade Gawanaz. How does extreme weather events caused by climate crisis impact food policies, and how does your city respond, mitigating and adapting to it, especially considering the most vulnerable people?
Okay, maybe also for information purposes. Namibia has a population of about 2.6 million, and Windhoek, obviously, as you'd also asked, about 461,000. With the urban migration, you can relate that you have a lot of challenges within the city of Windhoek. Firstly, people migrate simply because they're looking for better opportunities. Secondly, we have a housing crisis within the city of Windhoek because I'm sure if you Google, you'd also see that we have about 54% of people that come into Windhoek looking for better circumstances, moving into the informal area. And that population has been growing, and we have about 10% increase every year. So now you can just imagine, so just a little bit of background in terms of our population and migration and obviously the challenges that we face. Now, in terms of policies, we have the national nutrition policy at national level. We also have the agriculture policy, and we also have, obviously, the Local Authorities Act that obviously governs local authorities and how they deal with challenges and opportunities within the boundaries of Windhoek. Now, yes, global warming, climate change is a phenomena that is around the world, and city obviously hasn't been spared by that. We have experienced, for the past around 6 to 7 years, we've experienced severe drought, which has obviously meant that a lot of rural farmers has had experienced declining of livestock, of producing food, and obviously that has an impact. And then we also then had the flash floods that we're currently also experiencing during the rainy season, which is now currently upon us, as well as field fires that we're also experiencing. So in terms of climate change, Namibia and the city is not spared with all its consequences. We have also experienced immense heat, rising of temperatures within the current past 3 years. What we as Windhoek, what we are doing in terms of is we have strategic partners that we play with. And for us, it's also important that all of these policies are streamlined down to local governance, because that is where policies need to be implemented. And it is a problem when these policies in terms of climate change, in terms of food security and food sustainability, if we are unable to have these policies understood and these policies directed to the implementers, which are the local authorities within Namibia, then obviously the strategic intent then fails. So also with the city, what the city has also done is, firstly, the city has then also joined the Birmingham Food Pact, which was born out of being a partner here at the Milan Urban Food Pact policy. So we are also building relations in terms of making sure that the right strategic intents for local governance in order to deal with climate change and food security is sustained. We are also having our strategic plan, which we have drafted this year. Our plan, the strategic plan ended 2017-2022. We have then the agro-agriculture processing policy, where we're looking basically at increasing water supply to Windhoek, because Windhoek is also quite very dry. We have a lot of underground water, but you have to drill boreholes to access that water. So we're looking at water security in the long run. If we do not have enough water resources, rainfall, we obviously have to drill a lot of boreholes to have communities access water. We're also looking at the strategic pillar of accessing more farmland in terms of making sure that we have enough land for farmers to be able to produce, food, and obviously to make sure that you've got spatial development as well. We also are looking at, in terms of agriculture, increasing strategic partnerships with strategic intent, and to make sure that at the local level that is then realized. We have embraced innovative ways in order to deal with food security within the city of Windhoek. And that is with the assistance of obviously UNDP and other partners. We have the Farm Okokuna, as I had previously also mentioned. So all of these policies that we have spoken about is necessarily to say, are the policies at the right place to deal with the realities of our people on the ground? And we're talking about local level. A national policy speaking to that, a regional policy speaking to that, and the implementers of these policies. Do they understand these policies in terms of what climate change means? What are the consequences of climate change? And then obviously to make sure that our city becomes more resilient to climate change, as well as to be able to sustain ourselves in the long run. So we have, at community level, we also have community projects where we engage more, we teach, we train about the policies. And then we also have for future, we're still planning on to move out, because Windhoek's boundaries had also extended and changed. So we're also looking at other areas where policies can be implemented to make sure that there's food security within the boundaries of the city of Windhoek. Thank you.
Thank you. The trickling down of policies and actual implementation, that's a huge challenge, which I know all of you have to go through. Now to Mayor Eliker. In order to achieve climate justice, it is necessary to strengthen and promote food policies that are sensitive to local cultures, gender, ethnicity, and religion. How does New Haven address those issues? It's a little bit similar to your earlier question, but with a little bit more specificity this time.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say it's so wonderful to hear the examples of other mayors, because I think cities are oftentimes on the forefront of the implementation of these strategies, like the mayor of Windhoek said, and it's so good to hear so many other examples of leadership. And thank you to the mayor of Rio for speaking in English. They do have translation for me, but obrigado. Of course we can't be successful anywhere, but I think about New Haven. We're a very multicultural city. We have residents from all around the world that come to our city to live here. and a very, very diverse population, albeit a population that has disparities of income and wealth. And so we have to work alongside each other and not approach things in a top-down manner. As the Mayor of Paris said, the challenge here is that we need leadership, and we need people that are going to take courageous steps in the leadership position. We also need to engage all populations to ensure the sustainability of the importance of these issues. And I think that's why engaging people in the climate movement that are across all different cultures and ethnicities is vital to the long-term success of this movement. And we struggle with this in the United States, where it's become over-politicized and more, too much about identity rather than about the actual science and the issues here. As I mentioned, I talked about the Community Advisory Board and our real work to engage all different people from all different backgrounds. That's one entry point to engagement, but I think we also acknowledge that climate and the engagement around climate isn't just about food, but it's about many other challenges. People, if they don't have stable housing, can't spend the time, effort, and their own personal capital to engage in the climate conversation. If they're struggling to find a job, it's more difficult for them to engage in this climate conversation. So in New Haven, we've also invested a significant amount of funding into a housing first model, where we're supporting direct rental assistance and expanding affordable housing. We're supporting minority-owned businesses and small business and entrepreneurship programs, a lot of job training programs, so that people have the ability to earn more money that enables them to have the kind of resources to have a more equitable food system. We're obviously around the globe fighting against time with climate. And in New Haven, we've experienced a lot of major flooding incidents and are also improving our infrastructure. But we cannot possibly sustain any long-term initiative around climate if we don't engage all different populations, and in particular empower individuals that have historically been underserved.
Thank you very much, Mayor Alliker. Can you hear the applause from there? Yeah?
Yes,
Good, good. So before I let you off the hook, one final question to Mayor Eduardo Paes. As a mayor of a big city, what does it take to enforce, and kind of relating to the question I asked Madame Gawande. So as a mayor of a big city, what does it take to enforce food policies amidst the constraints of public administration and its bureaucracy?
I mean, I think it's by the end of the day, it's an easy answer. It's political will. I mean, that's it. I mean, all of us here are politicians. I mean, I know there's people here they're not politicians, but by the end of the day, when you decide, when you make a budget, where you're going to put your money, it means your political will. Who are you prioritizing? And this is something that we need to do. I mean, or we address to bring public policies to people that are in poverty, living in this environment of famine. This is something that it means political will. So the Pact of Milan is an example of this political will. Cities that joined the Pact of Milano, they are showing that from a political perspective, this is an issue that we need to deal with. That's a city that's a role that the cities they have to play more and more. I'm not saying anything against the national governments, but they are proving for a while their incapability of getting things done, of delivering things. As the world population are living mostly in cities these days, the role of mayors, of local governments are going to be more and more important, and showing this political will is what will make us address in the right manner problems as we're discussing here today.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So we're closing up our opening event, and it certainly sets the tone for what we can expect later today and within the next couple of days. I would like to invite you to stay on stage for a formal photo, and our previous guests as well to come back on stage for our photo, and then we'll break for lunch and have our wonderful and tasty meal at the foyer. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful conference, and thank you for being here.